Andrew Beninitendi, welcome to Chicago.
Thank you very much.
Now, I saw you had a social media video that the Sox posted. It says you're coming in, you're talking about how much you like the food in Chicago. What's your favorite item that you've ever eaten in this town, in your new hometown?
I'm big Italian. I'm a big Italian food guy.
Okay.
But I'll say, just for the context of this question, I'll say deep dish.
There you go.
A nice
sure.
little deep dish. The only time I'll ever get deep dish is here.
Sure. Deep dish, very good. You got to make sure you try this tavern style as well. It's all over the neighborhood here around the ballpark, so you just skip out and grab some, no problem.
Yeah, I will.
A little bit of a reunion for you with Pedro Grifol, the new manager of the White Sox. What was it like having him around the last couple of years in Kansas City?
That was great. I mean, obviously I got to know him the last 2 years, like you said, in Kansas City, and that definitely played a big role in me coming here. I'm a comfortable relationship with him. I'm aware of how he goes about his daily routine and his work he does and what he expects from me as a player. That was something that I wanted to be a part of. And obviously this team is very talented. And, I've seen that the last 2 years and the last 6 years overall. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
We've heard so much about how the White Sox have had their eye on you for a long time. Do you remember back in 2015, interacting with their scouting department or anybody else in the organization?
Yeah, I mean, I know that I remember they had the 8th pick, and that if Boston had not taken me, they were saying they were going to take me at 8. But I just learned that they were trying to trade for me the past few years. I never knew that, but that's what I just mentioned over there. It's like you put things out in the universe, long enough it's going to come true, and it's meant to be. So I'm glad to be here.
Some other familiar faces, obviously, in that clubhouse for you. We hear a lot of stories about Joe Kelly as a teammate. What are some memories you have of him back in Boston?
I mean, he's one of my favorite teammates I've ever had. He definitely brings the energy. But I think the best story would probably be when he was Jim Buchanan. I don't know if you're familiar with that back when we were playing in Boston.
You'll have to enlighten me.
Yeah, there's some great videos. I don't know if they're still up or not, but he dressed up as a media member and was going around asking players, just funny questions. And a few guys didn't recognize him, but he's definitely a character, but great teammate here, got to be around.
What do you've played against this White Sox team for a while. When you look across the diamond at this collection of talent, do you see guys that can do something special? Do you see a group, obviously, the fortunes last year were not what they wanted them to be. Do you see a group that can win the World Series like you've done before?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, the talent in there is unbelievable. The pitching's unbelievable. The lineup is very versatile. And I think, obviously last year, I think a lot of it was bad luck, injuries or whatnot. But, I think definitely this team's got everything it takes to win a World Series, a championship, get the postseason. Just got to go out there, put a good season together, and make it happen.
Did you recognize a difference in playing against them in 2021 and playing against them last year? Did you notice a difference, maybe with how they were feeling or how they were playing?
Well, I think last year, you could tell that they were, hampered by injuries and things like that. But obviously at the time, I wasn't necessarily looking at the differences. But I think when 2 years ago, and the guys were a lot more healthy and they were rolling. I mean, I joke around with everybody. It's like, I'm glad I don't have to face these guys anymore. These pitchers, especially these lefties, they got them there. It's crazy. It's tough. It's not a comfortable AP. So I'm definitely glad they're on my side, or I'm on their side now.
Who's the toughest at bat in this pitching staff?
I think Aaron Bummer. This is never a comfortable at bat for me. He's got that two-seam fastball that runs. It seems like 3.5 feet. Spring training, I'm going to be staying away from that AB.
You played with Moncada in the minors? Is that right?
I did, and a little bit in Boston.
Okay.
And I got familiar with Kopech well. I don't think we ever played together throughout the minors, but before we got traded, we hung out, for spring training, things like that. So, coming in with a few familiar faces definitely makes you a little more comfortable, but I'm more excited to just kind of get a relationship going with everybody, get that chemistry going, because that can only help.
What do the Royals really think of Tim Anderson?
And he's a tough out.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy can dang, put me on the spot here.
He's had a history with that team, no doubt about it.
I think that's just how baseball is, and I think once you leave the field, I don't think anybody thinks anything different. Like, he's a competitor, he wants to win, and some people don't like that, and I'm not just saying that scenario, but I'm excited to meet him, play with him every day. I mean, he's a great player, great shortstop, and it's fun to watch him hit too. So.
All right, I'll get you a list of pizza places that you need to check out right around here. Andrew Benintendi, the newest member of the Chicago White Sox.